right, Justin, you are now in line with Joe Warren. Go ahead.
How you doing, Joe?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Now, next week you're going to be taking on Eduardo Dantas at Bellator 166. Now, I want to ask you, I know this is a very tough week for you, Thanksgiving this week. How's the weight cut been going, and will you have a Thanksgiving feast this week?
Yeah, I mean, weight cuts were hard back in the day, but since Phase 4 and Bob Forrester, science-based training, it's been a cakewalk, for the last 2 years. It's a scheduled weight cut. This week is all recovery. Maybe I'm hitting pads a few times on the mat this week, and it's just keeping my water up and staying focused in recovery. Getting the cortisol level down, and then making weight next week. Science has finally caught up to us. And so the technology's there. So if you listen to your body, it's a little bit easier. So it's nice to have a group like Phase 4 that can run my training and my weight cut.
I'm very excited for this fight. This is the second time you guys have fought each other. Last it was back at Bellator 128, I want to say. And you defeated him, and you're going to have the opportunity to, repeat history. Now, in this camp, when you talk about your fight camp, did you approach this fight camp with anything, new? Did you focus on anything new, or did you just approach this fight camp as normal, as like the past fight?
Yeah, we just normal fight camp, man. We keep getting better. We keep moving forward. I'm never worried about the person in front of me. It's just a body for me to go through. If I'm being successful in doing what my coaches say, then I should be the offensive fighter, and I should be making him be at a defense or a disadvantage. So the camp was real positive. A lot of good work. It came, pretty close after my last fight, so we took a few weeks off and just got right back into the role. I think it was maybe a little easier than most camps where you got 6 months off and then you gotta start training again. This was just a few weeks off and we just got right back into it. So it was a comfortable camp.
Now, this is going to be the second fight, and when you think of second fights, could there possibly be a third fight? Now, when you think of trilogy fights in Bellator, I think of Eddie Alvarez and Michael Chandler. Now we're going to be looking at the Joe Warren, Eduardo Dantas saga. Now, regardless of the outcome next week, would you be open to having a trilogy fight with Eduardo down the line?
Yeah, I don't really choose my fighters. Bellator and Battleground, they choose my fighters for me. I just make sure that I show up and put the hammer down. So yeah, I mean, if they want me to fight him again, I'll fight him again. If they want me to fight Tito, I'll fight Tito. If they want me to fight Joe, I'll fight him. It doesn't matter. I fight for a paycheck and for a belt, and now I get an opportunity to get my belt back and fight a guy that that we've had this history before. So it's exciting. We'll see what happens after I beat his ass next week. He might never want to fight me again.
Like I said, this is the second meeting between you guys. Now, it's been a huge gap between the times that you guys have fought. It was back at Bellator 128. I can confirm that one. Now, have you seen any of the recent fights that Eduardo has fought? Did you look at any game film? Did you see anything new that he has added on to his his fight game? That you're going to be wanting to push come fight night.
Yeah, I watched him fight Galvo. I believe he has grown up a little bit in that fight game. I believe he's got older. And he's been in more title fights. He won his belt back, and I take nothing from him. He's one of the best fighters in the world. I believe he's changed his fighting style up a little bit from a finisher to a point fighter, winning fights by the jab and the kick. I don't think I'm the person that you can beat with a jab and a kick. So we'll see what happens. I think he's a bad matchup, or I'm a bad matchup for him. And I think it's going to be a great win for me.
Now, when you look into the Bellator bantamweight division, you've been, the hierarchy. You've been the guy who has been around, the longest. Now, when you look into your record, you defeated guys like Serwan Kai, LC Davis, and even Eduardo Dantas. The only loss that's been really hanging around your head was loss to Marcus Galvão. Now, if you win the championship, do you think that, Galvão will be your number one contender to, start your second reign as champion?
I mean, it would be nice, Me and Galvão are just bad matchup, like I said. I mean, we fight hard together, and they're wars. I just, me losing that belt with a verbal submission was just, it was a shocker. It was rough for me. I wasn't ready for that. It was I think I was in shock. Period. After that, I didn't know that I even yelled out. I didn't know that you could even be submitted that way. So it was a rough one for me. And then thinking that I would get the opportunity right away to revenge that loss, Bellator didn't give me that option. Made me come back and fight a few fights, and it's been a rough road. So I mean, I think he's going to be fighting. I think there's a bunch of guys out there that want to fight me. I'm not really worried about that right now. I'm just focused on me getting this belt, and then that's the fun kind of conversation. Once you have the belt on your waist, picking who you're going to fight next. That's I don't really ever get a chance to pick. Bellator and Spike, they pick the fights for me. I just show up and get the job done. So if that's the fight they want, then I'll fight it. If not, then I'll fight another fight. So it doesn't really bother me. This is a job for me, and you put a man in a cage, it doesn't really matter what his name is.
Just a couple more questions for you, Joe. Now, you've been with Bellator, basically since when it's all started. You've been really one of the big focal points in the lower weight divisions, in bantamweight to be exact. Now, Bellator, ever since you came around, it has been on the rise. We have seen so many great fighters, make the jump from the UFC to Bellator. Fighters like Rory McDonald, Chael Sonnen, and now even Fedor Emelianenko's coming over here. Now, when you go into the Bellator bantamweight division, it's been around, and has been a big focal point for fighters like you, Eduardo Dantas, LC Davis. Now, do you think that Bellator should be, looking into, the much lower weight classes of adding more fighters into that, due to the kind of a slim bantamweight division?
Yeah, I believe that the guys we have are as tough as anyone in the world, and I know that Bellator understands that. They understand that me, Dantas, there's just the farm full of the bantamweight fighters are as tough as they get. It wouldn't matter. It's not going to matter if I'm in Bellator or in the UFC. I'm still winning that damn belt. It might be easier in the UFC for me to get it than in Bellator, and they know that. The only reason you haven't seen those big jumps are probably because they just are weight class right now. It doesn't get paid like these other weight classes do. I mean, finally the public's starting to wake up and understand that the best fights are definitely the bantamweights and the 145 fights. Those are the best fights you're going to watch on a card every single time. But we just don't get paid like a 170 or heavyweight. They might not be the quality of fighter we are, and they get paid 3 times as much as us. So that's why you're not seeing those big jumps. You're seeing the free agency card get played a lot because these guys are in position to make a lot of money. So we'll see. I mean, I would be honored for them to start pulling some of the bantamweights or the guys that want to make that jump and come over and get their ass kicked in a Bellator cage like the rest of UFC guys do. I'd like to see them come over and make that jump and let me and Dantas and those guys beat the hell out of those guys for you guys also. So, yeah, hopefully they start bringing guys over and we start putting them down for people. But right now they're just staying at those heavy weights.
Now, before we get into the last couple of set of questions, now there has been something that was there was a quote that was brought up. I want to say it was Michael Venom Page that said this. Now, would you be open to doing a UFC versus Bellator fight card at some point?
I've been saying this forever. I mean, Michael's a young guy. He's just that's never going to be a case. But yeah, I mean, we would love to do that. The two organizations, they're not mixing the products. But, UFC wouldn't do a thing like that because there's a possible way they lose that fight, in almost every single weight class. So it's gonna be tough for them. You know, I mean, I don't think that's gonna end up happening. I think Michael's a young guy, so possibly the next 5-10 years there could be an opportunity with the Ali Act and maybe some kind of the Ali Act pass and maybe some of the unions for MMA. Maybe there's a possibility where you can make those cross promotions like a boxer, and that'd be really lucrative for the guys and a lot of fun for the fans. And I think that's the future. I just don't see it in the near future.
Now, in the previous question, I just mentioned Fedor Emelianenko. Now, that's a couple of fighters on the Bellator brand. What are their thoughts on Fedor? A lot of praise and a lot of excitement coming from them. You know, what are your thoughts on Fedor, and you know, how big of an impact is, you know, his addition to Bellator MMA?
Yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen for a long time. You know, Fedor, he's never fought in the UFC. He's not really fought in the States besides a Butching card. He's a money fighter. And this was the money move for him, so he made it. Scott Coker is the man that can bring the people to the table and close the door, and he's doing that. And I kind of felt like this was probably going to happen. I just, you know, I'm honored to have him part of the family, and excited to see if he could win a round in the Bellator cage, because you're not seeing a lot of, you know, free agents come over and win rounds. So, you know, Phil Davis did a spectacular job the other week. But besides him, we haven't seen a lot of, you know, those free agents come over and win a round in Bellator. So I'm honored for him to be part of the family, and I'm excited to see if he can win a round for us.
All right, Joe, for my final question, I want to put you on the spot right here. Give us a prediction on how the fight will go down next week against Eduardo Dantas.
You know, I'm not a very predictive guy, yell out predictions, but, you know, I'm going to win this fight hands down. If it needs to be a 5-round drag-out fight, I'll do that. I'm going to go from that first bell, from the first whistle. I'm going to try to finish this man, make him bleed in that Bellator cage. So I would like to finish him. You know, that would be my prediction, that I finish him in like the 3rd round. But bottom line, in my mind, I could see it going 5 rounds and me winning all 5 of them.
All right, we'll see you next week. You know, Joe, thank you so much for your time. It was a real honor of interviewing you. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.